تحدثت عن فتح مناظرة لعدد من المؤسسات، فشروط المشاركة في هذه المناظرة وتاريخ فتح هذه المناظرة. السؤال الثاني، صباح اليوم تحدثت عن ضخ الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية لمبلغ قيمته 37.5 مليون دولار للمؤسسات الصغرى والمتوسطة، فهذا المبلغ سيكون في إطار مساعدات مالية أو قرض، يعني كيف؟
The pitch competition was organized by the organizers of the conference, and so I don't know exactly who is participating. I would suggest you speak with them and they'll give you the specifics. They told me there were 4 companies that were pitching. In terms of the OPEC loan facility, it's a loan facility to help small and medium-sized businesses, and there will be some focus on the franchise sector particularly.
أميرة محمد، راديو مزايا كافيه. سؤالي: ما الذي يعوقكم اليوم لتفعيل اتفاقية التبادل الحر بين أمريكا وتونس وهي موجودة بينكم وبين عدة دول أخرى؟
So there's a free trade agreement between the United States and Tunisia is something of great interest to the Tunisian government. And we've spoken about this and how important it is that in the near term the country and the government focus on taking the economic reforms that we discussed. Because free trade agreements have become increasingly complex agreements. And the standards for a 21st century free trade agreement today are increasingly high. And the agreements are more and more comprehensive. Right now, the United States trade priorities are focused on the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the free trade agreements with Europe. But what we have said to your government is we welcome reconvening our TIFA Council this year to discuss the practical steps that are necessary to take in order to put the country in a position where a bilateral free trade agreement or a multilateral free trade agreement would make sense. And one of the other points that I have made to the government is the Trans-Pacific Partnership is an open architecture structure where it will, once ratified, will welcome other countries to participate. So it's not meant to be something that's exclusive. And so once that's completed, which our hope is it'll be sometime this year, that will be a standard type agreement which Tunisia might consider. But in any event, the economic reforms that I suggested in my speech earlier today and in my comments right here are absolutely necessary to be completed before a free trade agreement is even possible.
يعني يبقى مستوى التعاون والاستثمار بين تونس والولايات المتحدة الأمريكية هو محدود. هل هناك آليات جديدة لدفع ودعم الاستثمار مستقبلا في تونس؟ شكرا.
Well, today there are somewhere between 70 and 80 American firms that are doing business here in Tunisia, and you have more that are even present today at the conference who are interested in doing business in Tunisia. So whether you've got today Coca-Cola, HP, General Electric, Microsoft, Abbott Laboratories, UPS, many of our largest corporations are already present here. And what we talked about, what I spoke with your government leaders about today are assuming passage of some of the economic reforms, the opportunity to have more, creating an opportunity for your government leaders to sell the reform that they've done to a larger group of American businesses when the president is in the United States, or to engage in formal or informal dialogues between American businesses and your current government, as well as your private sector. The sectors where I think there's the greatest area of opportunity seem to be in agriculture, tourism, renewable energy, of course the ICT and software and business processing, as well as mechanical and electrical equipment. So there's a lot of opportunity to work together, and that's why it's so critical to see the reforms take place in short order.
Thank you very much. This is a great opportunity for me, and everything you said, everything everybody said this morning was wonderful. And we are talking about the new beginning, and compare this to a new deal. It reminds me, Hassan Mansour, I live in Canada. I'm a media communication teacher, and I'm here to represent telemedia from Chicago, and I'm proud of it. We talked about lots of reforms. I want to raise one side of it, one important side which is very dear to me. It's the education reform. I have been teaching in America and Canada, and one thing the Tunisian youngster needs is a reform that follows the reform we had in Canada and the state. Why? Because a lot of young Tunisians, they have education vertical. My question is clear. How the United States are going to help and to participate in the new reform of education and training, bringing, and you know what I mean, the horizontal, know how. That's my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So there is great interest both by the private sector here in Tunisia, as well as the government, about how to make sure to align education with the needs and demands that the current job market requires. And this is something that we began a conversation about today, and something that, obviously right now we have student exchanges, and I believe, as the president told me, the United States hosts about 400 Tunisians a year to our universities in various types of scholarships. He would like to see that expanded. I'm sure all of us would like to see that expanded, and that'll be something I'll talk at home about, what are the opportunities. But what we also spoke about, and this was, as I said, the first conversation, is how do you align your the equivalent of our community colleges. You have training organizations that with the needs of business, and how it's important that business leaders stand up to become a part of the training organization so that their requirements are well understood. And that's something that we had a beginning conversation with, and we'll follow up.
Secretary Pritzker, Peter Summer from Capital Intel, North Africa. My question is, welcome to Tunisia. You are a sign of new things, and my question really is, we have General Electric making $1 billion in investments and growing by double digits. We have Honeywell having the most successful operations in Tunisia. They're doing double digits in Algeria.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, they're doing double digits growth in Algeria and North Africa, West Africa. You have Caterpillar doing huge growth. Do you believe we need a flight to quality in the terms of types of private equity investors, private sector investment banks like Citigroup and Merrill Lynch? This is a good market. It's growing. We haven't seen a better market. We only do a little early growth market. This is the best market we've seen since the beginning of the Eastern Europe, and flight to quality.
So I had the privilege of speaking with a number of Tunisian entrepreneurs yesterday about the capital markets here in Tunisia. And there's definitely a budding capital markets structure, but it needs to become far more robust. And Citigroup is here, but the question is really, as you look at and as I spoke about earlier, the entrepreneurial ecosystem is something that we in the Department of Commerce, as well as the United States government, want to support. And the way to support that is not just with mentoring and with training, but also with helping the formation, access to capital, and making sure that you have not all the various levels of capital: seed capital, venture capital, private equity, banking sector, which is why we call for banking sector reform, making sure that we have the laws in place. If you put the fundamentals in place, the laws and rules, I have absolute confidence with the assets that Tunisia has, that kind of capital will be attracted to the Tunisian market. And that's something that we will work on through the RISE program, as well as through, OPEC and other parts of our government. So we're coming at this issue from a number of directions.
شكرا. زمر الدلهومي، جريدة المعرض التونسية، قسم الاقتصاد. نحس هناك إلحاح كبير وضغط على تونس لإجراء الإصلاحات الاقتصادية في وضع صعب جدا ودقيق. هذه الإصلاحات تتعلق بمشاريع قوانين إلى اليوم عالقة في المجلس الوطني التأسيسي وفي مجلس النواب، وهناك مداولات حولها، وهناك نواب يرفضونها ونواب آخرون يقبلون بها. ألا ترون أن هذا الضغط يكون عائقا في تطور الاستثمارات الخارجية خاصة الأمريكية، التي نحس أنها تعطي أولوية إلى هذه الإصلاحات في وقت صعب جدا تمر به البلاد؟ شكرا.
I think your government, both at the parliamentary level and at the leadership level, is absolutely set up to be able to address these issues. And having spoken with a number of your parliamentarians yesterday, and then again with your president, your prime ministers, the sense of urgency seems to exist throughout, because the recognition is there's enormous hope, there's enormous desire for economic growth, but there's a recognition that steps need to be taken to encourage that, and that economic growth doesn't come overnight. And so the sooner that you can put in place the foundational laws, the sooner businesses will act, both businesses here in Tunisia, as well as foreign companies that want to invest. And that all takes time, and that's why there's a sense of urgency in the conversation.